So this is the kind of form factor we're used to from Samsung when it comes to foldables. This is the Z, we do say Z in the UK, Samsung says Z, etc, etc. The Z or Z Fold, depending on where you are in the world, 8 Ultra, let me get that right. And this is the Z Fold 7. They look very similar, they are very similar. I do have a full review of this coming, so make sure you hit that subscribe button not to miss it. But Samsung has now given us another option, which is this. This is the Z Fold 8. I was going to save this kind of conclusion. I might as well say it straight away. It is one of the best phones I've ever used, and I cannot stop picking it up. It's just a brilliant little device. Although it isn't little, it's kind of big as well. It's a fascinating thing, and it's something we desperately needed. There are lots of questions though. You know, for instance, do you go for that or that? Does this get rid of tablets forever? Will it convert more people to foldables than this did? There's lots of stuff to go through, and this is a week later experience. I've been using this as my main phone. It's got a SIM card in there, and I've barely picked up my iPhone Air, which is over there somewhere. Oh. Let's get into it. Let's talk about this form factor, because I think it's going to be unique for a lot of people. I know there have been phones in the past that were very similar to this. You could say that the original Google Pixel Fold was a similar type design, but it wasn't quite as squat as this. It wasn't quite as passport sized, and the Z Fold 8 is basically a passport in terms of how it's sized. I'm also aware that we have the Huawei Pura X, I think it's called, but in the UK, in the US, in most of Europe, it's very hard to get working normally with Google and all that sort of stuff. So I think for most people, it's fair to say that the Z Fold 8 will be the first experience of a passport phone. And what's it like? The best way I can describe the Z Fold 8 experience after a week, some of this will be honeymoon stuff, I get that completely, but it's the fact that every time I pick it up, it feels different. So whether I'm using the front screen, which is kind of very wide and squat and, you know, purposeful if you like, or if I open the main screen, the internal display, which is either 3x4 or 4x3, fantastic for watching stuff and reading things, fantastic for scrolling big websites and, you know, doom scrolling Twitter, whatever it's called these days. It always feels different when I pick it up, and it's forcing me to use the phone very specifically in terms of how I hold it. So if I am doing something like, I don't know, adding a post to Instagram, I tend to use the front screen. If I'm viewing Instagram, I do it like this because it just gives me more of that view. And if I'm reading stuff, so if I'm reading my Kindle books, I hold it like this. It's a very deliberate approach to using this phone. And with some foldables, I've struggled with that. I've always said that foldables are very unique insofar as you have to have a defined reason for picking up something like this because it's very expensive. You need a reason to do that. I struggle after a while to find reasons to do that. I have a feeling that's not going to be the case with the Z Fold 8. It's also the lightest Z Fold so far, so it's 201 grams. In terms of the thinness or thickness, it's 9.7 millimeters folded, and if we open it up, it's 4.5 millimeters. That means it's a little bit thicker, a tiny bit thicker than the Z Fold 8 Ultra, but you don't really notice it. It still feels like a very, very thin phone. For something which does so much and has 2 displays, it's really, really impressive. It also has the titanium flex hinge, which does that, so it opens very confidently compared to the Z Fold 7, which doesn't snap open, it just kind of progressively opens. There is one downside with that, and that is that we've lost flex mode. So flex mode was on the Z Fold 7 and the 6 and the 5, and I think most before that as well. It's when you can open the Fold like that and use it like a laptop. So you've kind of half opened it. You can't do that on either the Z Fold 8 Ultra or the Z Fold 8 because that new hinge won't let you. It's too confident. Not a big deal for me at all. I've never used flex mode. It never made sense to me at all. So to have a hinge instead, which is much better to open, much easier to open, much more confident feeling, and it doesn't get rid of the crease completely, but it does improve the crease significantly, and it's just in theory, according to Samsung, it's much more durable. That can only be a good thing. The other slight downside, and we do get this with all Samsung phones, is the table wobble. Well, it's very wobbly. In fact, they both are. They wobble a lot. Now, you can fix that with a case, obviously, and that brings me on very conveniently, very quickly to this week's sponsor, Dbrand. They've sent me a screen protector. Now, what I'm going to do straight after this video is apply both of these, so you'll see footage of me doing it. But the screen protector, it's 2-step. It's meant to be foolproof, and if I can do it, then you can definitely do it. It's 7 on the MOHS scale. No idea what that means, but I assume it means it's going to protect that lovely outer display very nicely for you. It has an edge-to edge-to-edge fit. It's case friendly for the fold as well, so if you add the case that I'm about to show you in a moment, then you'll have no problems at all. And you get 2 in the box, so if you do make a mess of it, you can start again without any worries. Okay, the other thing they've sent me is the grip case. The reason they've sent me all these is because they do the same thing for the Z Fold 8 Ultra and the Z Flip 8 as well, so you can get all your lovely D-brand stuff for all of these new phones. Again, I will put this on straight after this video, but it comes in 2 pieces. So we have the front piece, which very easily attaches to the front of your Z Fold 8, and the back as well, which, unlike a lot of fold cases which I've tried, it protects everything. That means it's got hinge protection, but it's also got MagSafe compatibility, thousands of microscopic textured dots for grip, so you're not going to drop your expensive Fold 8, and the camera bump has enough clearance to ensure that it no longer wobbles on the table. Happy days. There's loads of different color options, and if you want, you can just get the skin as well, so you can get these skins from D-brand. D-brand, thank you for sponsoring this video. Let's crack on. Now, if you've got a regular phone like the S26 Ultra and you're looking at the Z Fold 8 thinking, I'm tempted, but I'm nervous, I completely understand, because your phone doesn't bend, and also it's very different. In terms of the size, it's a colossal change, isn't it? So I can see why you're both excited about going for this, but equally nervous. So the question you've probably got is, what's it like to live with the Z Fold 8? Now, I've lived with it for a week. As I say, I've got a SIM card in here. I've got all my apps on here that I use every day. I've not been picking up my main phone, which is an iPhone Air, at all. I've just been using this. And the good news is, this has been a revelation. And more importantly, it hasn't felt hamstrung, it hasn't felt weird, it hasn't felt like I've had to get used to things. Like I mentioned a moment ago, it's forcing me to use this phone to its maximum capabilities, using every inch of it, whether it be the front screen or that great big internal screen, depending on which orientation I'm going for and what I'm doing with it. So it's really, it doesn't feel different. Well, it does feel different, but it doesn't feel different in terms of what I'm getting done at the end of a phone session, because whether it be Slack or Outlook or Claude or browsing Instagram, posting to Instagram, surfing the web, as we used to say, whatever it is, or using WhatsApp to communicate with people, ring people, it does the job. And I'm yet to find on the front screen an app which feels wrong. So it's very wide, this front screen. You have to bear that in mind. But typing on it feels fantastic. I can even type one-handed, which for me is really important, because if I'm walking the dog and I get a text message and I need to reply to it, I can do it. I can't always do that, weirdly. You can just about do it on the S26 Ultra, but the weight distribution is a little bit scary, whereas with this, it fits so beautifully in the palm of your hand that you can just use it one-handed. So it's letting me do everything normally, particularly on that front display. There are some concerns I have about the internal display, which I'll come on to in a moment, but getting stuff done on here, which is where you'll spend most of your time, I think you'll spend most of your time quickly checking in on things and doing that. That's to be expected. I don't think most people are going to have an issue with this. I think every app that I've tried, and most of the apps I'm using are regular apps. I use the Google suite, Google Maps and all that sort of stuff. They all work fantastically on this front display. And as mentioned, it does have BlackBerry vibes. And if you were a BlackBerry user, I think you're going to love this. But unlike those devices of old, we have this. Watching videos. So if, like me, you watch a lot of YouTube content, and if, like me, you watch Matt Armstrong, you'll like this example. That's what it looks like when you first open it. So we get the video up here, and we get related content, comments and stuff. So you can do a lot more on the screen more easily than you can on a regular phone. Fantastic. But if I hit the full screen mode, it looks like that. And yeah, we do have black bars at the top and the bottom. You get that on the Z Fold 8 Ultra as well, but it's something to do with the dimensions of this phone. It's holding it like that, chilling out on the sofa, on your chair, whatever. It just feels right. It feels like the right way to watch videos. And then possibly my favorite part of this phone is the Kindle experience. I'm reading a lot more books these days, and that's what it looks like. You can change that view. Obviously, you can have it just one page if you want to, but for me, having 2 pages side by side, it's joyous. It's really joyous. And then we have, I won't show you this one because it will show you my inbox, but Outlook has a pane on the left-hand side for your inbox, and on the right-hand side, the messages. Claude, they've thought about Claude as well. Again, can I show you this? Oh, I probably can't because there's all sorts of things on here. But again, we have chats on the left and we have all the, the stuff that you're doing on the right-hand side. It works so well. It isn't perfect. There are certain apps, including for some reason Google stuff, which I don't understand. Google's apps are kind of stretched like that. Just give us panes when we're using them on this big internal display. Do something with the design. It is annoying on certain apps, but again, most of the stuff that I use on that internal display is consuming content. So it's watching stuff, it's reading stuff, and occasionally it's browsing things. So on the web, for instance, if I go to, let's think of a random website I could visit like this one here. If I turn it to the 3:4 ratio, you get this massive tablet-like experience for browsing websites. It's just really enjoyable, and typing on this internal display, whether it be that way or 4:3, it feels very natural. You get the split keyboard, which if you've not seen before, looks like that. And then obviously if you turn it that way, it just kind of compacts a little bit more. I have found it a bit easier to type on the 3:4 ratio, the kind of the portrait one. But it just feels like a tablet. It really feels like a tablet, but it's a phone because we do that, and we're back to that aspect ratio and that size display, which is also fantastic. I also love how One UI does the quick panel and the notification panel on this internal display. So it drops them down as these kind of floating windows. You can't move them around, but they do drop down nicely like that. Big fan of that. Multitasking, I tend to use 2 apps side by side. That's enough for me, and it's very productive on this screen. You can go up to 3, so you can have 3 apps side by side and a 4th one floating around that you can resize and do all that sort of stuff with. That's not for me, that's too much. But if you're a serious multitasker, if you're someone who currently uses the Z Fold regular sized and you're a bit worried about going to this size, I wouldn't be. It feels very, very capable in terms of being a multitasking device as well. There's loads of Galaxy AI stuff built into this, which I won't go into in this video. I think I need a bit longer with it to kind of get my head around it, but I'm not a big user of consumer-facing AI stuff. If you are, the good news is it's Galaxy AI, which is very hard to say. Galaxy AI, which means you're in the best hands. Samsung and Google have the best consumer-facing AI stuff anywhere. Period. Oh, the other thing that I love, if you take photos with this phone and then you review the photos on this big internal display, they fill the display. There's my dog Nala. And they're a joy to go through. Again, you can look at them landscape, you can look at them portrait, but the fact they fill that display, it's such a lovely way of going through the photos that you take. And myself, like a lot of people, I'm guilty of taking photos and never looking at them. You take them, they go off into whatever cloud service you store them in, and you forget about them. Whereas on this, again, might be honeymoon period, I found myself really kind of going through my photos and just enjoying looking through them, because of that massive internal display. However, we do need to talk about this. The Z Fold 8 has 2 cameras. They're both 50 megapixel. We have a regular 1x zoom. We have an ultra wide, which is 0.6. And then anything beyond that, so 2, 4, up to 10 basically, is digital, and it's AI infused zoom. It's not optical, so neither of those are a zoom lens. Technically the 1 times regular, you get the point. There's no, for instance, as we have on the Z Fold 8 Ultra, there's no 3 times optical zoom, so you do miss out on that. Is that a problem? I don't think it will be for the people that buy this phone, to be honest. I think the people that buy the Z Fold 8 are going to be fine with the fact that it's got the ultra wide, which is a really, really important addition. I'm really glad we've got that. I don't have that on the iPhone Air, and it annoys me quite regularly. So you've got that, and I think just the quality of the photos that you get from the 1x zoom are fantastic. That will do most people that buy the Z Fold 8, and I think if you go up to 4 times, I think 4 or 5 times is fine in the right conditions. 10 times zoom works in very good conditions. So if it's a very bright day, sunny day, you'll get some good 10 times zoom. But it's when low light kicks in and all that sort of stuff, it's not great at that stage. But I think up to about 4 in my testing, that's been a really good focal length. But beyond that, it takes fantastic photos. These photos I took while I was in London, and I think they look lovely. It can even deal with my very fast moving puppy and child, which I think I've taken a few photos of those guys with this as well, which I'll do more of that for the next stage of this review in a few weeks' time. But it's a really good camera system, and if you want, it shoots up to 8K video, which I have no interest in that whatsoever. But again, like every single Samsung phone these days, it has these crazy 8K specs for video, and the video is very good. The regular 4K video is very good. So as a camera system, I think they've got it right. I would have liked that 3 times optical zoom though, Samsung. I think on the next one we need 3 cameras. Performance and battery. So this is running the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, which is Qualcomm's latest flagship chip, and I've got nothing to say about it in the best possible way, because 1, it's the flagship chip from Snapdragon, which is fantastic, it's always fantastic, and 2, it's developed specifically for Galaxy, for Samsung. So the version of that chip in this phone is tuned for Samsung. So even better news, which is fantastic. The battery, we have a 4,800 milliamp hour battery in here, which is made from silicon kryptonite, and that means it's better than what we have in the Z Fold 7. It's slightly bigger than this one, I think by about 2. We'll put how much bigger it is down here rather than me get it wrong. So it's slightly bigger than the one in the Z Fold 7, and it's a different type of technology. It's the new silicon technology, which everyone is obsessed with. My experience with this battery has been absolutely amazing. So the day that I was in London taking those photos that you saw earlier, that was a full-on day of using this phone constantly, and it was the first day I'd used it. So I'd set it up the night before, so it was presumably still doing indexing and all that sort of stuff. And it basically got to 8:30 that evening with 15% remaining. And I'd been using it constantly all day as my regular phone, but also taking photos, shooting video. Incredible. On a regular day, it gets to about 60% come bedtime. So it comes off the charger at about 7 in the morning. And for me, I can be 50, 60% by the time I go to bed. In fact, yesterday, it was more than that. It was the day before, 65% when I went to bed, 65%-ish, and woke up and carried on using it, because overnight, it barely lost a percentage point. And I think by the time I got to midday yesterday, it still had 50% remaining. So the battery is brilliant, and it charges fast as well. So it's 45 watt wired charging and 20 watt wireless charging. Samsung, you've nailed it with this. Which brings me to my inevitable conclusion about the Z Fold 8. Why did Samsung wait until 2026 to release the Z Fold 8? Is it because possibly we might be seeing something very similar from Apple later this year? Maybe. Does that matter? Do I care? No, it bores me to tears who got there first, who copied who. It just doesn't matter. The important thing is we now have this as an option, and I think the even more important thing is that this will appeal to a much wider group of people. The problem with foldables, as I've always said, is that you have to have a very specific reason for buying one. They're expensive. That's expensive as well. I'll come on to the pricing in a second. Given the money you're laying down for this, you have to have a reason to buy it, and more importantly, a reason to do that. If you haven't got that, it's hard to justify. I think because this feels so natural, whether it's closed or open, whatever you're doing with it, and you just find yourself naturally using it in the right way, and because that will absolutely replace tablets for a lot of people, I think this is going to have a much wider appeal. Yes, it is still expensive, $16.99 in the UK, $18.99 in the US, and it's basically £200 cheaper than the Z Fold 8 Ultra, which isn't a huge difference. I will have a comparison between these two in the next couple of weeks, by the way, guys, so again, make sure you hit subscribe not to miss that. But I'm hopeful that the upgrade paths that you'll get from Samsung, but also from carriers, the carrier deals, the monthly fees that you'll pay for this will hopefully make it worth it. It might be a bit more than you might pay for your regular phone, but I think given the functionality you're getting from this, and the fact that the battery is fantastic, the camera, okay, it's a little bit limited, but it does a very good job regardless. But the whole package, it's really worth the money. But the big question I've got is, would you buy the Z Fold 8? I'm very excited about this phone. A lot of other reviewers, a lot of other people that I saw at the launch event are feeling the same. But we live in this little bubble, this kind of tech review bubble. You have a much more rounded opinion, I think, of this sort of stuff. So get involved in the comments. Will you buy the Z Fold 8? Will you not buy it? Will you buy the Ultra instead? Will you buy something else? Get involved down there. Hit that subscribe button not to miss any future reviews of the new Samsung watches, that's the Watch 9 by the way, and of anything else that might be coming this year, any other potential foldable things that might arrive. It's an exciting year.